Guten Morgen, meine Lieben. It is a crisp morning in the United Kingdoms, and I got to get a few things off my chest about this government in this country. In particular, the way that they tax people for trying to prevent things from happening and always trying to put these laws in to prevent things from happening. In particular, I want to talk about one that grinds my gears in particular, which is going to shock you, which is them increasing taxes on tobacco. And I'm going to explain why. It's for the same reason I get annoyed at them trying to crack down on, we're going to punish people more for using guns, right? Like, if you want to stop people using something, rather than just removing it, stop the reason why people are doing it in the first place. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people, and this is why these things annoy me, because they'll be like, we're trying to make the country a better place. Before I get into this, I want to give a disclaimer, okay? As to where all my thoughts and feelings are coming from as a somebody living in the United Kingdoms. And that is, I've lived in this country, right, for 21 going on 22 years. That's horrifying. And whenever I look at stuff that the government's doing, I don't think about how it affects me. I really think about how it affects, like, the national Brit, like the person whose, like, family's been here for a couple hundred years. Well, is Britain even that old? Because, and I'll tell you why. Because that's, to me, how you can see the truth of a government. And one of the things I've said to you guys many times before is that seeing how, it's quite windy, hold on. Seeing how the government treats its own people kind of tells me all that I need to know. Because, you know, it's one thing to talk about immigrants, and I do think, and we'll just say this, I do think this conversation about illegal immigration in this country is a big fat distraction and a deceptive tactic to the national Brit, as in a way to try and blame somebody else who's not actually the person to blame. Which brings me to this whole taxation of tobacco, because, you know, I've always been around people that smoke quite a lot, right? And I don't have any judgment. Like, you guys know, I don't really have any judgment. I don't really care, but, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't care, guys. There's bigger fish to fry. Sorry, I'm just remembering that I had an argument with somebody, and I can't remember if it was in real life or in my dream. Oh, Lord. It was in my dream. Oh gosh, this happens to me all the time, where I can't remember if a conversation I had was something that happened, if it was in one of my dreams or if it was in real life. Anyway, the reason why I specifically want to bring up the taxation laws and increasing the taxes on that is for the same exact reason. It just perfectly depicts what I'm saying, and why this government, they don't care about the British people. They don't care. Like, this is what I'll tell you. I've been observing from the inside for nearly 22 years. They don't care about you guys. Like, and to an extent that is honestly worse than in other countries, where at least, like, they're a bit more patriotic, or they you know, even some controversial characters in the world today or throughout history, you can argue that they're fighting for what they think the entire country deserves to be. But here, that's not the case, guys. So when it comes to tobacco, let's talk about that for a second. It is actually very windy. I mean, I would love the wind if it wasn't for the fact that I was recording a video. In all fairness. Yeah, so I'll tell you why. So when I used to live with my housemates, this is how I got to know about a lot of this stuff. Two things. Number one, I always used to watch Border Security, Border Patrol. I love that. It's like my favourite random TV programme that I'll watch. It's like the middle of the day, and I happen to be going to watch TV, which literally never happens. I literally never watch TV. I'm only watching TV because of traitors. Anyway, but if it's like, for whatever reason, I remember especially like when I was at uni, every time I go back home to my mom's house, I would, the show I would always watch, because it's always on some channel, is Border Security, Border Patrol, you know, like where people go through security in the airport. And I think Border Security, one of them is like based in Australia, one of them is based in England, one of them is based in, I'm not sure the other ones. And I love it. I don't know what it is about that show that I just love, but I love that show. So I always found it fascinating, just seeing what happened, what people tried to bring in, what people didn't try to bring in, and all of that. And so one story I remember that upset me, I'll never forget it. There was 2 young British guys, and they had gone to somewhere in Europe to buy a whole bunch of cigarettes, because there's a limit to how many you can buy. Now I know this because growing up, my housemate, one of them, she was a heavy smoker, and she was Italian. So like, we would always be in the shops together anyways, like, because as housemates we would go there, like, because I mean it's London, it never sleeps. So anytime any of us would go to the shops, we'll all just go to the shops together all the time. Like, I'd literally be doing it as much as I do it now, but like with them. And so I would always see like how much she was paying, and I would always think, this is quite expensive, like, in my opinion, because I would see how cheap, and I've seen how cheap it is to buy these things in Europe. And even now, like when I've been in Europe the last couple of years, I've been looking because I find it fascinating. And there's a limit. You can only bring like 4 boxes of cigarettes or something like that. I don't know. Now, just hear me out, guys, because we're going somewhere with this. You only bring like 4 cigarette boxes or something, or it's considered illegal. Back to this story. So these young guys have come, they've bought like a cheap flight, which you can. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I can get to from my doorstep all the way to another country for cheaper than I can get from my doorstep to London on public transport. I can get a flight that is cheaper than my train ticket. That's insane. And I actually have been going to London, you know, guys. I really need to do a London vlog. Like, I'm going to do it though. Like, very soon I'm going to do a proper London vlog, because I feel a little bit guilty that I've like shown you all these other places and I haven't shown you like this place. I love shoes. This is my temptation to try to tell that lady I love her trainers. I just did that. I missed the moment. Anyway, I wasn't going to make her turn around. Anyways, so these 2 young guys, they bring back all these boxes, and all they have is like just their carry-on luggage, whatever, onto the flight, and literally nothing else. They get stopped at the security coming out into England and found to have all these cigarettes. Guys, this broke my heart, because they got charged, right, for bringing in an illegal amount of cigarettes, right, of all the things in the world. This is why this whole thing annoys me, right? They didn't have the money to even get their train home. They didn't even have money to get home. The point was, they were going to be the ones to take the risk of getting all these cigarettes. They were going to get paid by somebody the moment they landed. With the cigarettes, they had no money to their name. They were desperate, right? This is 2 white British young guys, okay? I just want to point this out for all the immigrants who are the ones ruining everything thing, right? And I know, and I'm not saying that because it really bothers me in any way, to be honest with you, because like I say, but I'm just saying it because I'm trying to highlight that this is what the British government does to British people who are clearly in a tough position, you know what I mean, in a tough spot. So they end up getting in trouble for all of this and finding the people doing the illegal sharing. And I'll tell you guys why I have a problem with this. First things first, the only reason they're taxing these cigarettes, in my opinion, from all the episodes of Border Patrol and all the things I've seen myself, is because it's a classic case of what always happens. They don't like that they don't have the monopoly of making money on something. Because obviously, in this country, we don't do like 5 different drugs every day like Americans do. Love you guys so much with all my heart, right? People's, like, I would say the main 2 things that people are unknowingly addicted to in this country is tea and cigarettes. Everyone wants to go for a cup of tea. I was going to say the word I was going to say. I don't even know if you're allowed to say that anymore in 2026. A cup of tea and a cigarette, right? And people, they smoke a lot. And I'm not saying people don't smoke in other countries. Of course, people smoke in other countries as well. But I'm just saying, for the UK, that's their, like, those are the things, right? And so, of course, it's an incredible industry. One which, again, is largely also to do with the transatlantic slave trade, because I think a lot of times people think about the transatlantic slave trade because of the climate of the West these days. We think more about the slaves, but there was a lot of stuff being traded at the time. A lot of stuff. And no offense, but this country doesn't grow tobacco. It barely grows anything. God bless you, the UK. I honestly think I genuinely love the UK more than most people love it here as well. Can I just say? Because a lot of people, you know, when they find out that I was born in America, I kid you not, literally 95% of the time, even though when talking about places like America, it's always all those crazy, too happy, you know, gunslinging crackheads over there. Even though they say that, right, dummies and whatever, I promise you 95% of the time I meet a British person and for some reason they discover this piece of information. Every time they say, why the hell would you be here? Why the hell would you be here if you could be there? All of them, like literally all of them. I'm trying to think if I could even remember. I don't want to say 100% because I can't remember every single time, but I also can't remember a time when somebody didn't say that. Every time, so it's just quite funny. So I'm like, and every time they say that, I'm always the one defending. I'm like, no, but I actually like it here. Like, I like this and this and this. Like, be proud of where you come from. You know what I mean? Fight, like, you know what? I'd be proud of where you come from. Like, have a bit of patriotism. That's why it's nice to see the flags out now and stuff like that. Because I'm like, go in other places, in other countries, and they're so strong on their beliefs and they're so strong in their values. You know what I mean? Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm like, this is all just an excuse. They don't like the fact that people can make money, because that would honestly be more worth it. If you were a smoker or a seller of tobacco, it would actually be worth you as a business owner to pop up to, especially somewhere like Poland, where you're spending in zloty, and it's 5 zloty to 1 Great British pound, which is insane to think about, but it makes so much sense. It would make more sense to just like pay for whatever you need to pay for your flight, your luggage, do like a couple day trip, get a couple suitcases and stock up for your shop. I would bet that would be cheaper than the cost of importing. And also, my thing is, like I said, if you want to actually reduce smoking, deal with it. Because like, can I be honest? This country is a very miserable place. Like, that's one thing I've realized. And I've seen a lot of scales of types of people in countries, and I feel like every country has its own kind of personality. They really do. And this country is quite miserable. And I think it's because the government has done a really good job of convincing them that this way of living is acceptable and deceiving them with things like, well, you are better off here. Look at those American idiots over there paying for healthcare. You're better off here. Look at these folks in less developed countries that are not even civilized. Like, look at you, like, you're better off. At least you can get all the, and it's true in the sense that as a human being, that's why I say it's the most comfortable form of slavery in this country. It's the best form of slavery, of modern day slavery, because you can get by, you can do what you got to do and everything, but you're not happy. Yeah, you're not worried that if you get cancer, how are you going to pay for the medical bills, or if you have a baby. That's one thing that ticks me off. When I've seen how much people pay in this America for like giving birth to a child, it makes me sick. It makes me absolutely sick to my stomach, and I hate it here. You know, but in reality, everything is just a deception, because I saw, like, you know, that there was this thing kind of questioning. This is why I'm bringing all of this up, because I had seen about on the news that they're like, we're going to increase the taxes so we can prevent people from smoking. Bull crap, mate. You know, they were like, do you think this would increase illegal? They were basically talking about the potential increase of illegal use of tobacco, and I'm like, yeah. Like, how tone deaf do you have to be? How legitimately tone deaf do you have to be? This is why I don't like to talk about politics with adults, because I'm just like, you guys aren't doing anything valuable. You're just taking all this nonsense and you're not like standing up for yourselves or standing up for anything. But like, these, I'm thinking this is the most, a lot of these things are like the most tone deaf thing, because they keep finding ways to increase the costs of certain things as if to put people off, as if the cost of living isn't already going up, as if people, like, this is why it's almost like this is why I feel like this all works towards the mark of the beast, by the way. All of these little things, it's like pushing people to their breaking point on purpose. Pushing people to their breaking point on purpose, because the only people that it really affects are those who are doing these things. It's like when they started to tax sugar. So now, if I go into any shop, any store, any bar, any pub, any restaurant, and I buy Coca-Cola, automatically the Coca-Cola original with whatever sugar's in it is what, 20 or 30p more than the Coke Zero or the Diet Coke, which ticks me off, by the way, because Coke is my favorite soft drink. I've said this before. However, I very rarely drink it. But when I'm going to have it, I'm having the Coke original, right? And they say, oh, we increased the sugar tax to put people off buying things with full sugar. It's like, no, it's just another way for you to have money. Just another way for you to make more money. Oh, we're going to increase the amount. Now you have to pay for grocery bags in the store so we can put people off buying grocery bags, which they started off with 5p and they're climbing up and up and up, getting more and more expensive, right? And of course, I do think there was, it's the wind. My gosh, the wind. Don't get me wrong. These things have, in my opinion, helped to an extent, but I think the reason why they were doing it is false. They don't actually care about the people. They just have to look like they care. It was like before Brexit. Again, they're trying to appease the public by being like, all this money is going to go to the NHS. You know, again, the immigrants, everybody was upset with the Eastern Europeans. You know, when I went to Poland, I immediately noticed these people are actually genuinely double, triple times more hardworking than people over here. I can't lie. Of all the countries I've ever visited, I would say British people are the laziest. I hate to say it. I noticed it in skill, because even me, who wasn't like super well behaved, I would still get my work done, you know? And there's always kind of this air of, even if you don't really try, you'll be all right. When I was in Poland, these people were hardworking, bro. Even when I'd be out and about like this, see when I'm walking around in public places, shopping centres and stuff, I'm always the one walking super fast, yeah? In Poland, I was like the one walking super slow. Like I actually was like, wow, this is so much fun. I can actually walk even faster than usual. Like people got places to go, places to be. They ain't got time to waste, like not telling you exactly what they mean. I remember this one time, this lady in the store, I like just gave, like made some space for her. And she said in like the most aggressive and quick tone, like, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. And I was like, whoa! Like even the way that they don't bother, like if you're a foreigner, they don't bother trying to get you to speak their language, like in Italy, where you're passion, and they don't care. We ain't got time to waste. You'll probably know English, you know English? Yeah, okay, cool, yep, 12 zloty. Like, they don't care. And low-key, I'm like, no wonder, they're coming here, because let's be honest, I'm really getting everything off my chest. You know, I've just realised there's like this green mesh by this school. I completely forgot there was a school here, but of course, you can tell I'm getting older now. And I was so glad they did this, because you can actually see into the school quite a lot. The kids are now on break, and I completely forgot that there was even a school here. I've been walking by here more because I'm coming up this way a lot. I love that. I love that we're actually protecting the kids. That's my biggest problem, by the way, with all of this, is there's always all this energy going into like all these consensual behaviors of adults. And never am I hearing us, we want to crack down on child trafficking or children going missing or protection of children. Even in the schools last year, this ticks me off. This is, I think, the most annoying thing that happened in 2025 for me in this country. The government gave 50 million to the education system for learning languages. The kids can't even do basic maths and English. They can't even do well in a basic maths and English. All of the maths teachers are leaving, hence why my phone is always ringing and my email, and my phone is now basically permanently on do not disturb, because people are like, oh hi, I found your details, and I'm like, where from where? Right? And you've put 50 million into learning languages. Excuse me? And so this is why when I hear about this tax nonsense, yeah, I'm just like, you people make me sick, the government. Good Lord. It's crazy how many times I've been in an ambulance. What was I about to say? Yeah, so can I say something about immigrants in this country, yeah? I think all of us who've immigrated here, we're the ones who know what we're in for. The great British pound sterling is great to have, it's great to spend at other places. If you're prepared to work harder than the average British person, you'll be better off. And they actually won't do it anyway. Because the truth is, like, even when I was in hospital, all the doctors are Indian. They're all Indian, Pakistani, South Asian. They're all. Because you know what? They're the ones who try. Like, and I see the correlation, like in my job, right? When it comes to education, no one is more serious than the Asian communities. Those parents will take out extra jobs. They're not making excuses. They put pressure. They're like, look, we'll create whatever environment it is that we need to create for you to succeed. Hardworking. I've seen parents where there'll be two parents together with like two kids, and they'll be like complaining about how hard it is when they're doing the literal bare minimum because their child doesn't do anything other than go to school and come home and do nothing. And I'll see other parents where they're both working multiple jobs, they've got like 5 kids, they're still managing to be active in their life, take them to all these activities, make sure that they're getting extra education, extra tuition, extra this, breaking their backs. It's always the Asians, I'll be honest. Respectfully, it's always them. Like, this is what I'm saying, like, my heart genuinely does go out to the British people. Like, so honestly, my heart really does go out because I just think it's really sad. Like, I really want to see you guys win just as much as anybody, and I'm grateful for all the things I've had in this country, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. It just saddens me, and this is why when I see these kinds of things, it's like you're like kicking people when they're already down doing a lot of this stuff. Like, people are already down. You're doing all these laws to try and say, oh, trying to help or trying to reduce knife crime. I'm like, reduce the reason why people are picking up knives, bro. You've got 50 million to spend on languages, but there's people living in houses with landlords taking advantage that are dying from mold or getting sick from mold in the house. That's contractually their landlord's problem, but the landlord's not doing anything and they don't possess the knowledge or know-how to get help for that. Like, one of the jobs that I did, as I said before, is we used to go, I was working as like a youth worker kind of thing, and so I used to go to places all over the country and go and like talk to the young people and just like go and like find out what's happening, what things they can get involved with and all of that. And it was really sad because a lot of them were like, a lot of the places that invest in even young people were shut down, which I know that myself from being here. From being in this town, I remember the stuff that we were able to do and get involved in, and none of those things exist anymore. Now we've got fancy restaurants. We've just got another new building of flats that no one's going to be able to afford, which is exactly the same thing is happening in London. They're appealing to I'll give you the perfect example of what I'm talking about. When I was at uni, right, I remember at my university, it's a really nice location where it is, yeah? And for the student accommodation, there was one that was about 4 minutes walk from my building, which is the main reception, the main building, the whole building. Actually, the whole North London campus. And 4 minutes walk from there was like the first student accommodation. And then You walk about another 15, 20 minutes and there's another student accommodation, and they're all over the place. And this is why I like studying in London, because I never wanted to be like on a campus and be insulated to this one group of community. I wanted to like dibble dabble, have a bit of the city life, a bit of the uni life. Like I didn't want to just be around uni students. And it worked out, because in these student accommodations you often have people staying from different universities, different London universities, which is so cool. We all got to meet so many people and it was so much fun. Anyway, so if you like the first one that was like 4 or 5 minutes away, stunning, beautiful, gorgeous, all these fancy things in it, like, and everything. Really expensive. This is when I started going there. Really expensive. The one about 15 minutes down, affordable, but it did kind of look like a prison. Okay, now this is why I opted not to stay in any student accommodation, and I stayed the entire time in a house share, because I was like, I'd rather like be in a house, have much more space, pay much less money. So that's what I did. And yeah, so that's what happened. And then, so that was that. But I'll tell you when the situation went downhill, right? Oh my gosh, I've never walked down here before. I might have to do this later. So there was, after all is said and done, right? In like the second or third year that I was there, they built this new student accommodation in front of me. Now, the other two student accommodations, multiple people could afford it. So there was multiple people of different backgrounds that could afford to get into both of them. Fine. They built this new state-of-the-art, gorgeous student accommodation that's right outside the front door, like across the road from the main campus. So I'm like, this is so cool. They're like, we've got 700 spaces, like it was a big building, whatever. When I tell you guys, it was only filled like halfway. And you know what was crazy? It was only Chinese students in that student accommodation, and then about 5% otherwise, because they're the only ones who could afford it. And they would actually complain in the building, like, this building didn't go off the way we thought. We thought that it would have a higher capacity. I'm like, you people are tone deaf. Who do you think can afford to stay there? Of course we can all see it's lovely. Of course we can all see it would be ideal, because you could literally roll out of bed and be in lecture in like 10 minutes, right? But who the hell can afford this? And you know who's least going to be likely to afford it? It's the British national. The person from this country is going to be the least likely to be able to afford it. Because even if like for those of us who migrated legally, if we have migrated legally, then the chances are there's something that we had, or some kind of upper hand of something that we have in order to be able to do that, because it's not cheap. Can I just say? And I think that's a good thing. I think you should make it like, you know, expensive for people, because that's a way for the country to naturally make money. So I am not against that. I think that's 100% fair. I think everything that my family had to do, like to be able to live here in this country legally, 100% fair, because it's a way to add to the British economy that doesn't hurt the British people, and it's fair. And also it's kind of like a filtering, sifting process, because then you know that you've got people who are actually going to add value to the country. Like I said, my mum's worked in the NHS for the whole entire time we've been here. She's worked in the NHS. Even the time before we left and then we came back, she was working in the NHS. So, you know, she's the one who's there when looking after patients and old people when their children are not even showing up to come and see them, or are clearly excited that their parent is going to die or whatever, or is having to do all the work, you know, the dirty work of it all. You know what I mean? So, you know, it makes sense. But I'm just saying that, like, these are just the things where I'm like, everything that this country is doing is against the British person. But then what the government does is make the British people think they're on your team and that everybody else is the problem. When in reality, people are either just taking advantage of the opportunities in front of them. Everybody wants to get an education in England. Like, that's the crazy part. But whenever I talk to people, I'm like, wow, they're like, oh yeah, I'll study in England. And again, a lot of these immigrants, it's like a badge of honor to all these parents, particularly the Asian communities, like the East Asian, South Asian. They love a bit of yep. And we brought our kids and they went to this Oxford, Cambridge, you know, all of that. But again, even Oxford and Cambridge, It's the same, like even in the States, it's a similar thing. It's all just a scam, because in those places, it's all going to be all the people who can afford to get there that are at the top within the government people and their kids, and the royal family and their kids. They're all going to be at the top. They're all going to, like, it's written that they're going to get the opportunities. It's written that, like, they're the ones who are going to benefit at the detriment to the British national. And I think about this all the time, that, like, realistically speaking, I'm just saying, guys, because I actually could leave and go other places at this point. I actually have an option to leave, so I feel better off. And that's why I'm saying, I'm just saying this because I actually feel bad. Like, genuinely speaking, I feel bad. I feel bad for the British person. I feel disappointed, like, in the government and, like, whatever. And it's just so clear to me, because it's these little things. Like, there's 2 young guys, right? Can we not just turn a blind eye? They don't even have the money to get home. Who's really hurt? Who's really being hurt? If you're an adult, it's the same way I look at drugs, the people getting, like, 40 years for selling a Class A drug versus, which we all know they're all doing anyway. Let's not forget. The richer, more money you have, the more you can pay for these types of things to be done in a cleaner fashion. The reason why, if people could afford to be, you know, just snorting cocaine before walking into the meeting with the rest of Parliament, they probably would be. But they can't, which is why they're buying cigarettes. You know what I mean? These guys, you know, they should have just got a slap on the wrist. They're young guys. They clearly didn't have any money. And this is why I think everything is so backwards. Because then at the same exact time, you know, I've been watching KSI's videos, his Try Not to Laugh videos, where he lets his fans come on to his show. I mentioned this. And if they make him laugh, then they get £1,000. And let me tell you, it's like very cringy, and it's not super funny, because I think people are trying too hard to, like, get a clip or whatever. But what I will say is that a few times you hear somebody talk about, like, hey, I only have 60p in my bank account. This is going to be so helpful. Oh, I'm like, we're uni students. We just really needed the money right now. You know, like all this stuff. And I'm like, KSI being an immigrant, right, whose parents, again, worked 2-3 jobs to put him through private school. Everyone calling him lucky, right, for where he's at, started his channel on social media before everybody was making money, when he was just making silly videos with his friend, right? Is offering more value, more opportunities for money than the government. And he's not requiring using the taxpayers' money. He's using his money he makes on his account. He could be like these billionaires, like these Epsteins, be spending all his riches on having naked pictures of people all over the gaff, and traveling and getting away with buying all these extra tapes and all this CCTV to be doing weird things behind the scenes. Or P. Diddy. He could be like these mega church pastors, right? Buying private jets, because he doesn't own a private jet. He does have access to one, but he doesn't own one, because he always says it's just a waste of money. He doesn't have to even be making these videos. He doesn't have to make videos. But he loves doing it, and he's supporting his fans. He's giving out money every month, yeah? So I'm thinking, he doesn't have to do this. The government, on the other hand, we're doing this for you, we're doing this for you. We're doing this for you. For who? For who? Because they're the ones who want the immigrants here, because then the people that are allowed in illegally are going to be like, oh, we're going to agree to the same thing I think the United States they're doing in the United States. The governments want the illegal people, because then they get to be like, if you come as a refugee and the country takes you in and gives you a chance, those are the quickest ways to get votes. Yeah, slap them with citizenship and those people will be voting for you. So it's just a tactic. Cause division. As long as they're not the ones being seen as the problem, it's fine. Right? Do all of these things in the name of trying to look after our people and trying to improve the quality of life, even though it doesn't actually help anything. It only gives them more ways to make money and makes the lives of the average British person even harder to bear than it already is. And I say this as somebody who sees my life as better off than a lot of British people, can I be honest? For a lot of it to do with my choices and my experiences and just recognizing that this is not acceptable way of living, the way that they pitch it. And this is why this Pride of Britain thing for me is such a scam. Because it's like, they're like, we're going to look down on everybody else. And it's like, you guys need to look at yourselves, like, respectfully. And I really, truly mean that respectfully. You need to look at yourselves, because what all this is, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is that I'm seeing around me. And it's just really sad, because, like, even now when I'm going out and about, I'm going to another store. Like, I love walking to places, guys, at the start of the day. It's because I never know what I want to eat until the day, and I like to have an excuse to go on a walk, right? And I always want to cook something nice, you know what I mean? because I love cooking. It's like therapy. I observe everything that's happening, and I just feel bad for the average British person because they're really like living life on the edge. They're really struggling. Like I've said, even in one of these schools I worked at, I'll never forget it. It just upset me so much that there was this kid, and I was talking with the mum. I was working at this school, right? And I was helping with the after school club basically for a while. And this mum needed her sons to be in this after school club. This is a primary school, so they would be no older than like 10 or 11. The kid, I think, was 8, and his behavior was so poor. And I was just like, it was a classic case of the system just going hard and heavy on this kid, who, by the way, was only started acting out, which everybody said he only started behaving like this when he found out his dad's cancer was terminal. They had all these paperworks and all these interventions that have been done that explained how people could help him. They put all this effort and no one was doing anything about it. Why are we not putting more money into stuff like this? Because I spoke with this mother, right, and I was standing there at the playground when they came to pick them up, yeah, and I was talking to this lady, and she was like, because I try to be so gracious with parents whose kids have behaved badly, because for a lot of them, there's either no point trying to make a big deal because they don't really care, which is half the reason their child is like that, or they're truly overwhelmed. And so I don't need to pile more weight onto their shoulders, you know what I mean? So I tried to, and I could see from her, and she was like, I'm the only one who's working because my husband is sick. If I can't bring my kids to this club, basically this is the only thing, which again, it's so twisted that adults work 9 to 5 and that's the normal working hours, but kids go to school and finish at 3:15, and you're just making life harder for people for no reason. Either we all finish at 3 or, do you know what I mean? I don't think we should all finish at 5 because the thought of keeping kids at school till 5 is ridiculous. I also don't think most people's work days need that extra 2 hours. I think a lot of time gets wasted at work on just things that are not important. Hence why I hate working in jobs where I have to listen to anybody, because then I spend 1.5 probably of my working hours accumulatively every day just on random small talk, unnecessary meetings and, things like that. It's just another way they're trying to screw everything over because this is the system. Now you got to figure it out. And then when we have money, we're going to go and just penalize people that at least are doing something consensually as adults, right? Which they should have the rights to do if they want to. My thing is, if somebody wants to destroy their body, let them. If you're a consenting adult and you want to poison yourself, go ahead. Because it's funny. Once upon a time, they believed tomatoes were poisonous. If somebody wants to poison their own body, let them. They're adults. That's called consent. But then when it comes to the non-consensual things, ain't nobody putting money into that. Ain't no justice coming from that, right? Adult or child. Ain't nobody seeing real time for that. You can consensually sell cigarettes or whatever the heck, sugar, drugs to people. And again, even with alcohol, the only reason they're increasing the taxes again of that, you don't care about people's health. Care about people's health? Yeah, make it so that in the supermarkets can't charge more than what's reasonable on the average salary of the average family, and that includes the average cost of children and all of this. Have schemes for parents who are working, whatever, where they can get, more benefits to eat better foods. You put the money there. You had 50 million to put into languages for education. Are you kidding me? This is why I can't do this job anymore, because you guys are actually playing in my face. You're playing in my face now, because now you're playing in my face. You actually think that you're actually really going to go ahead and do something as dumb as that. You're really going to go ahead and do that. 50 million. And then now all these companies are scrambling. Even with my job, yeah, they're like, we can pay. We work with the government. It's a government official. All these websites here, these jobs reaching out to me. And now they want to offer me, at the start of the academic year, they were offering me about my current rate, yeah? By the time it was near Christmas, they're offering me 3 times per hour what I'm getting paid right now, because now they're desperate. So it's so you had the money. But you try to be cheap. If had you people just looked after us teachers in the first place, had you people just looked after the people in the first place, you wouldn't be here. It's like when the government's like, we don't have any money, but all of a sudden we're capable of putting the whole entire country on furlough over COVID, where we can still pay you 70% of your paycheck. Huh? I thought we didn't have money. Because that's the other justification that, we're losing tax funds on this, we're losing tax funds because of illegal tobacco. Get out of here, bro. Anyways, I'm going to go and do what I got to do. But I just wanted to say that, I'm just keeping it real, guys. Look, I know I've said controversial statements, but I'm going off my observations. And all I'm saying is the government, if the person that the government hates, the UK government hates the most is the British people. Because everybody else offers them something. Us as immigrants, legally, money, coming into jobs, skilled labor, all of that kind of thing. And they get to dictate how a lot of our lives, at least for the first part, right? Illegal immigrants, people that if they let in, if they whatever, they get to use as scapegoats, and they get to have sworn loyalty from whoever saves them, right? Other immigrants come in harder working, utilizing the systems, working in jobs that other people won't do. Because if you go into jobs like the cleaning jobs, care home jobs, like I said, beekeeping jobs like doctors and stuff like this, you're finding that it's people who've immigrated doing these jobs, right? People who are prepared to work the long night shifts, 12 hours, all this stuff, yeah? A lot of them are not from this country. Some of them are, I want to say that, but a lot of them are not from this country. That benefits the government more than the average British person. And that's why they screw you people over the most. Anyways, I say this in love. Anyway, I'm sure that somehow I've not said something I need to say or clarified something, but I hope you guys at least can hear where I'm coming from. Anyways, if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.